Do you think that graphs are one of the toughest data structures out there? If yes, then in this video I will change this for you by giving you a very simple explanation of the graph and its two algorithms, breadth first search and depth first search, with a line by line explanation of the code. Watch this video till the end as you will be surprised to see how we can convert the code between breadth first search and depth first search by changing just one number. Yes, you heard it right, just one number in the code. My name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy Things, where I make programming simple and fun. YouTube statistics show that the majority of you are not subscribed to this channel, so if you end up liking this video, make sure you click the subscribe button to see more such programming videos. Let's start by defining a class for the graph data structure. But to populate this graph with nodes, we need to define a node class as well. We will define the constructor of the node class by defining the init function, we will set the value of this node to the value that is passed as the parameter to this constructor. We will also initialize an empty list of neighbor nodes, that is self.neighbors will be an empty list. So this is the only code that we need to write for the node class. Now let's define the constructor of the graph class. We will initialize an empty dictionary for the nodes of this graph. Self.nodes is an empty dictionary. This dictionary will be a mapping from the integer identifier to the actual node object. That is, if a node has a number 1, then the key of in this dictionary will be the integer 1, and the value corresponding to that key will be the actual node object, which will be initialized by this constructor over here. You will understand this when we will start inserting key value pairs in this dictionary. Now let's define a function that will populate the nodes in the graph and add edges between them. We will name this function to be addEdge. Apart from the self parameter, we will have two parameters, node1 and node2. Here, node1 will be the source of the edge and node2 will be the destination of the edge that we are adding by this function. Here, node1 and node2 will be the integer values that will identify the actual node objects, that is, the keys of this dictionary. First, we will check if the node1 is present in the graph's node or not. For that, we will check if the node1 is not present in the keys of the dictionary, that is self.nodes. That is, if there is no item corresponding to this node1 key in this self.nodes dictionary, then we will add the key node1 to the dictionary, and the value corresponding to this node1 will be a new node object initialized with a value of node1. You can consider this statement to be a two-way function. That is, if we have the integer identifier, then we can refer to the actual node object using the self.nodes dictionary, and if we have the reference of this node1, the node object, then we can access the value of inside this node by using node.value over here. We will copy these two lines for node 2 as well. This will become node 2, this will become node 2, and this will become node 2. Now, as we are sure that the nodes that the parameters of this function are referring to is present in the graph, we will take the node 1 object again. So we will use the node self.nodes dictionary, and we will append the node 2 object in the neighbors list of node 1. So we will access the neighbors of node 1 object, and we will append the node object corresponding to node 2, like this. Next, we will initialize a graph object outside this class. We will add the edges as per this example graph that will be displayed on the screen. We are considering this graph to be undirected, that is, the edges in this graph are two ways. So for each edge in the graph, we have to add two edges in the graph for both directions. Let's define a list for edges corresponding to one direction for now. Now we will iterate for all edges that is present in the list for edge in edges. Instead of referring these two values with a single variable, we can refer it to as node 1 comma node 2. So for the first iteration, node 1 will carry a value of 1 and node 2 will carry a value of 2. And as this graph is bidirectional, we will add two edges. The first edge will be from node 1 to node 2, and the second edge will be from node 2 to node 1. Now let's see by printing the nodes in the graph along with its neighbors. For that, we will iterate for all nodes in the graph by using node in g.nodes. And as this g.nodes is a dictionary, we have to extract the actual node object that is present in the values of this dictionary, and for each node we will print the value of this node and the neighbors of this node. Let's see by running this program. We get 6 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a list of node objects. Here the object gets printed with its hexadecimal address that is allocated to this object in the memory over here. So to see the value of this node, we will print the value of these neighbor nodes instead of the node object itself. So for that, I will use a list comprehension over here, and for NN. So for all nodes in the neighbor, we will print the value of the node. Let's see by running this program again. We get a adjacency list over here, that is for node 1 the neighbors are 2 and 3. For 2 it's 1, 4, 5, and you can verify this with the graph over here. So by this way we have completed minimal functionality but working graph data structure. Do you still think graphs are tough? We just had to write some logical statements to define the constructors of node and graph and for connection between the graph nodes. That's it. If this explanation has made you understand the graph data structure in a simple way, make sure that you press that like button down there. Now Let's start writing the function for breadth first search. We will name this function to be BFS. As the name suggests, we are searching for some value in the graph. So we need to pass a key value to this function which needs to be searched in the graph. But unlike trees, there is no root node present in the graph. So we need to provide a starting node to this function to begin the search from. This start parameter will be an integer identifier of the actual start node. Let's first check for the boundary condition where the start node is not present in the graph. For that, we will check if the start key is not present in the self.nodes. If that is the case, then we will print an appropriate message. Start node is not present in the graph, and we will return. Now for normal cases, we will initialize a queue data structure. For traversing the nearest nodes first, that is breadth first, we need to have a first in first out mechanism, and hence we will use a queue data structure. I will show you the working of the queue once we finish this program. We are using list for the queue over here, as list provides functions that will do the FIFO mechanism. We will iterate until the queue becomes empty. For FIFO, we will append elements to the end and pop elements from the start. Hence, for each iteration, we will pop the 0th element in the queue. That is queue dot pop the 0th element. We will insert the start node inside the queue, and as the start variable is an integer identifier, we will use self.nodes dictionary to get the actual node object. Now, to avoid duplicate visiting of the nodes, we will create a visited set which will have the visited nodes. Now, as we are starting with the start node, we can consider this to be visited, and so we will add this to the visited set as well. Now we can start adding more nodes to the queue. So for that, we will iterate for all neighbors of the current pop node, that is this. For neighbor in node.neighbors, for each neighbor we will check if this neighbor node is not present in the visited set. If neighbor not in visited set over here, if that is the case, then we will append the neighbor node to the queue, and as we are adding this neighbor node to the queue, we will mark this node to be visited, and hence we will add this neighbor node to the visited set as well. Now over here, before adding the neighbor nodes to the queue, we can process the pop node over here. Here we will just print the nodes value so that we can get an idea of what is the order that the breadth first search is following, and for getting a space separated integers, I am using this end equal to space. So each value will be printed with a space afterwards. But remember, we are still searching for the key. So we will check if the node's value is equal to the key. If that is the case, we will print the message for key found. I'm adding a new line character because this print function is ending with a space and not the new line character. So this message should be printed on the new line. So I'm adding this new line character, and we can finish our search process over here. So I will add a return statement. Now again a boundary condition. What if the key that we are trying to find is not present in the graph? In that case, the entire queue will become empty, but the key will not be found. So after the while loop, we will add the message key not present in the graph, and the function will terminate after this line. Let's test this code for a boundary condition. G.bfs. The first boundary condition was when the start node is not present in the graph. So I will pass a 0 node. 0 node is not present in our graph, and any number, I'm taking just 6 over here. Let's see. Start node is not present in the graph. Now let's run the code for a normal case where both the start node and the key is present. So I will change this 0 to 1, and apart from this adjacency list, you can see that the graph has been correctly traversed in the BFS order, and once this reaches the 6th node, a message of key found is being printed over here. We will dry run this code to see the line by line working of the code. So for that, I will use a snippet that I have written. Here the dry run will happen for the statements that are present in the while loop over here. So initially, before this while loop, the queue will contain the start node. Here the start node is 1, and the visited set will contain the node 1 over here, and this arrow indicates the current line that the code is processing. So this code will pop the 0th element of the queue, and hence the queue will become empty and the node object will become 1. Here, even though the integer value is being displayed, but still you can consider this node variable to contain the actual node object and not the integer identifier. I am using this one just for demonstration purposes. In the next line, the node.value is being printed, that is 1 with a space, and this gets checked whether the node.value is equal to the key. Here the key is 6, and this condition becomes false, so it will skip the next 2 lines and it will start iterating for all the neighbor nodes of this graph. For node 1, the neighbors are 2 and 3. So the first neighbor is 2. It checks if the neighbor is not present in the visited set. It is not present, so this condition becomes true. The next line adds the second node to the queue like this. Again, the queue will contain actual node references and not the integer identifiers. This is just for demonstration, and same goes with the visited set, and the node 2 gets added in the visited set as well. Now the next neighbor of node 1 is 3. It again checks if the node 3 is not present in the visited set. It is not, so this condition becomes true again. The node 3 gets added to the queue and the visited set. Now all the nodes of the 1 are processed, so it will go again up. The queue is not empty, so this loop will continue, and the 0th element will be popped out. Now the 0th element is 2. The value of this node will be printed like this with a space between. It will check if the key that we are finding, that is 6, matches the node's value. It is not, hence this condition becomes false. Now it will skip these 2 lines and it will start iterating for all the neighbors of the node 2. The first neighbor is 1. It will check if the 1 is not present in the visited set, but you can see that 1 is already present, so this condition becomes false, and thus it skips this 2 line and avoids revisiting of this node again. It will proceed with the next neighbor, that is 4. Now this time this condition becomes true because 4 is not present over here. 4 gets added to the queue and 4 gets added to the visited set as well. The next neighbor of 2 is 5. Similar to the node 4 case, this becomes true. It gets added to the queue data structure and visited set as well. Now as all the neighbors of node 2 gets processed, the while loop iteration again proceeds with the first line. Now the first node that was present in the queue was 3, so that gets popped out. Its value gets printed with the space between. Its value is checked with the key equal to 6. It does not match, hence this becomes false. For all the neighbors of 3, the first neighbor is 1. This condition becomes false because 1 is already present in the visited set. The next neighbor is 5. This condition becomes false again because 5 is already present, and all the neighbors of node 3 is visited, so nothing gets changed over here. The next node that gets popped out is 4. Its value gets printed with a space. Its value gets checked with the key 6, but it does not match, hence this becomes false. It iterates for all its neighbor. First neighbor is 2. It is already present in the visited set, so it skips. Next neighbor is 5. It is already present in the visited set, but the next neighbor is 6. It is not present in the visited set, so this becomes true. It gets added to the queue and visited set. Now the next node is 5, but before going to this, we can see that all the nodes are present in the visited set, so no more adding of the nodes in the queue or visited set will happen, and eventually this queue will become empty. So for node 5, the value gets printed, its value gets checked with the key, it does not match, and hence this becomes false. The first neighbor of 5 is 2. This becomes false because all nodes are added. For 3, this becomes false again. For 4 as well. For 6 as well. Now the queue becomes empty and the only element, that is the 0th element, gets popped out as 6. 6 gets printed over here. Now the 6 value gets matched with the key equal to 6, hence this condition becomes true. It enters the if condition and a key found message has been printed. It is printed with the new line character, but due to restriction over here, it is demonstrated as if it is printed on the same line, and the next line will return outside the function. So in this way, the order of 1 2 3 4 5 6 gets printed and a key found message gets printed. Now let's test for the second boundary condition, where the key that we are trying to find is not present in the graph. So we will change this 6 to 7 and see if the code is working. We get a message of key not present in the graph, but we are still getting this 1 2 3 4 5 6, and thus it states that it tried to find all the nodes in the graph, but after all the graphs after all the nodes get processed, it was still not able to find the key in the graph. So in this way we have completed the breadth-first search algorithm over here. Now, as promised in the introduction, I will change just one number in this code and convert it into a DFS code, that is depth first search code. For that, I will use the fact that the data structure used for depth first search is a stack instead of a queue. So, while popping the element, instead of popping the 0th element, I will pop the default value, that is the last element from the queue. Now, even though the name of this function is BFS, this function will work as a depth first search code over here. Let's see by running this code. As you can see, the order gets changed over here. You can see that one's neighbor is 3, third's neighbor is 5, and five's neighbor is 6, sixth neighbor is 4. So it was this algorithm tried to find depth first instead of breadth first. So the order gets changed over here, but still the working remains same. It will try to find for all nodes, and if the key is not present, it will print the same message. The only difference between breadth first search and depth first search is the order in which the nodes get processed. But to avoid confusion, we will make a copy of this function like this. We will rename this to DFS, and as we are using it as a stack, we will rename this to a stack, and instead of popping the 0th element, we can just pop the default element, that is last element. And so we have the code for depth first search as well as breadth first search. Let's see the working of the depth first search as well. For that, in my snippet over here, I will just change this, I will just remove this 0 from this, and this as well. Now we can test, do a dry run over here. As you can see that the only change that we have made in this code is the removal of the 0 character, and even though this name is queue, it will work as stack, and initially the queue here will contain 1. It will print the value as before. It will check if it matches with the 6. It does not. It will check if for all the neighbors, that is 2, the neighbor 2 is not present in the visited set, so this gets added to the queue and the visited set. For the next neighbor, the 3 is all not present in the visited set, so this becomes true. It also gets added to the queue and visited set. Now, instead of popping the 0th element, it pops the last element from this list over here. So the current node now is 3, and hence we get the 3 gets printed over here. The value of 3 does not match with 6. For neighbors of 3, the first neighbor is 1. It is present in the visited set already, so this becomes false. The next neighbor is 5. This is not present, so this becomes true. it gets added to the queue and the visited set. Now the next element that gets popped out is 5. As you can see, it is not proceeding with the 2 because this is a depth first search. It is trying to go into depth instead of going for all the nearest neighbors. So for 5 node, its value gets printed. Its value does not match with 6. For all its neighbor, that is 2. 2 is already present, so this becomes false. 3 is already present, so this becomes false. 4 is not present, so this becomes true. It gets added to the queue as well as the visited set. Here this is a set data structure, so the order does not matter. The next neighbor is 6. This becomes true. 6 is not present. It gets added to the queue and in the visited set. The next node that gets popped out is 6. It gets printed and the key is 6. So this becomes true. The key found message gets printed by this line and the function returns. So in this way, the depth first search works by using the stack mechanism. Instead, just ignore that this variable is named as queue, but this is working with the last in first out mechanism. You can also use recursion to write the code of DFS, as internally recursion code uses a recursion stack. Now I hope that you will not think that graphs are the toughest data structure out there. I also hope that you will now be able to write the code of depth first search and breadth first search for graphs very easily, because you not only know the code for it, but you also understand each and every line that is used in the code. If you found this video informative and has helped you clear your doubts, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to know the line by line explanation of the dynamic programming algorithm, click on the video over here. If you want to develop a hands-on console game development project to add in your resume or just for fun purposes, click on the video over here. And I will see you in the next video.